Hi, this is John Todd reporting for Dining Chicago. We're here tonight at Sapori on Halstead in Lincoln Park with Chef Anthony. This is one of my favorite restaurants in Lincoln Park. So I'm a big fan of your food and your cooking. I've had it a lot of times, but for people who haven't had it, can you tell them a bit about it?
Sure. Well, I grew up in southern Italy, in Bari. It's actually the heel of the boot. And I'm a third generation in the restaurant. My grandparents had a restaurant on the coast. It was a little osteria where they made food for their guests, and they had like a hotel and a restaurant all together. And my dad was there, and we'd spend all the summers there. Then my father came here about 30 years ago and opened a restaurant called Il Pescatore. And him and my uncle were the chefs there. And I was the oldest son and the oldest nephew. So I began working in the kitchen and cooking, and I realized from early age that this is the only thing I wanted to do.
Perfect.
And to define what we do here, we make beautiful food for people we really appreciate.
So would you describe this as a neighborhood spot?
I'm glad you asked that, because the way I see it is that's what we are. What we aspire to be is your neighborhood place. We aspire it to be a place where you feel comfortable bringing in either your significant other, your parents, or a big birthday party, or a business associate. We want you to feel comfortable. And what we try to do here is bring the best of Italy served with a beautiful Chicago American flair. But our ingredients and our recipes and our style of cooking is authentically Italian.
And speaking of that, I'm smelling a lot of authentic Italian here. What do we have in front of us here?
Okay, this dish is an original creation. It's called the gambaroni and broccoli. It's inspired from my mother's hometown of southern Italy called San Nicandro di Bari. It's a dish where they would roast the broccoli nice and slow, and then we would actually have lots of tomatoes at the harvest time, and we would also slow roast those. It's a combination of the broccoli and the tomatoes with jumbo shrimp, because the sea is not far away, and all tossed together beautifully and fragrantly with a little bit of cream, a hint of garlic.
This I've had many times before here.
What it is the actual cappellacci we make here, the actual pasta. Then we make the stuffing here, and then these are butternut squash, and we pan sear them in butter, and the whole sauce is a burnt butternut squash with crusted sage and finished with a little bit of Parmesan. This dish is a peasant-inspired dish. It's the rigatoni caprese. It is the best of the caprese salad with the fresh mozzarella and tomatoes. And it's done as a pasta with homemade rigatoni. These are actually noodles that are homemade.
This looks somewhat familiar, but this looks like nothing I've seen before. What is that?
This is actually an original creation. We call it the milk and honey ribs. Not something you see in an Italian restaurant. However, we thought we put it on special, and because it was so good and we had such a great demand for it, we decided to put it on the menu. And how we make this, we literally smoke the ribs. There's our pork ribs. We smoke them with hickory. Mm-hmm. We don't go all the way through till they're finished cooking. We cook them about halfway.
Okay.
And then we put them in a big kettle. It's kind of funny how big the kettle is. It's probably bigger than this table.
Sure.
We stick them in there. We add milk, a couple gallons of milk. We add probably 3 cups of honey. There's carrots, celery, onions, and then to finish it off, besides a little bit of white wine, we also add Italian porcini mushrooms, which are imported from Italy. It's an elegant dish. It's savory, smoky, and sweet all together. Everything you like in a rib, except something different. There's no tomatoes.
Wow, that looks absolutely incredible. Well, I noticed that you've got a lot of good savory stuff here, but I like the sweet stuff. And I've noticed you have some really nice looking desserts here. So what's what?
Okay. It's an interesting thing that you ask about the desserts. When we opened the restaurant, we had a friend who was very talented in pastries, and I asked this friend of mine, I said, I had a bread pudding in Italy once, and it was nothing like I had here before. So I can't really take the credit for this one. But nevertheless, we've even perfected it since then. But I said, I want you to bring me your best bread pudding. And when I say your best, I want you to bring me 10 versions of what your best is. We worked 2 days in the kitchen. We came up with this.
Wow.
This dish is Sapori's bread, prepared carefully and painstakingly with heavy cream, butter, sugar, African vanilla, which we found to be the best for this recipe. There's different versions.
Sure.
The sauce on top are fresh raspberries that we puree daily.
Wow.
With a hint of sugar. We garnish it with a little bit of fresh mint. I think it's the best thing.
I'm also noticing this beauty over here. What is that a tiramisu?
Yes, and you know, every restaurant has a tiramisu, and maybe you can get it frozen in the store, but this tiramisu I think is the best in Chicago. It's made painstakingly with espresso that we brew here daily, Italian Savory di biscotti, mascarpone cheese that we import from Italy. It's finished with heavy whipping cream, the purest of heavy whipping cream, 70% cocoa, and a garnish with a little bit of chocolate sauce. We are very proud of that.
Chef, all this food looks absolutely incredible. Why don't you let the viewers at home know where you're located, what time you're open, what your phone number is?
Sure. We're located at 2701 North Halsted in Lincoln Park, and we're open 7 days a week for dinner, starting at 4:30. And our phone number is 773-832-9999. We're in the intersection of Halsted and Schubert.
Perfect. Well, now that they know where to go, let's say we eat this before it gets too cold.
Good, I'm starving.
Fantastic.
You gotta try this.
Cheers.